What is good? What is good? What is good? Good morning. Good morning. How you doing? This your boy Coach Dante, Coffee and Sports in the morning. Here I got my co-host, my guy this morning, Mo Better. How you doing this morning, Mo?
I'm blessed, Coach. Ready to go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We are all set for the NBA Finals on June 1st, starting Thursday. We have the Denver Nuggets, the team that was rattled by injury last year. Nikola Jokic led the team to the first round of the playoffs. Plus, they lost to the eventual champion Golden State Warriors last night. They lost to the eventual champion Golden State Warriors last night. But other than that, we have the Miami Heat. They return. I mean, the Nuggets, we all expected them, to pretty much do well this year, but they've been the best team all along this year. Hey, got to give them their flowers. They made it to the NBA Finals. They went by. They got by, and they swept the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. They handled their business in the first round against Minnesota in 5, and in the second round, they handled their business in the second round. Also, they did what they had to do in beating the Phoenix Suns in 6 games. So, and then they swept the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. So now they're in the NBA Finals. So they've been out. And we have the Miami Heat, who's coming in as the 8th seed. Nobody expected them to make it to the finals. They become the second ever 8th seed to go to the NBA Finals. Who was the first ever 8th seed to get to the finals? The Denver Nuggets was the first ever 8th seed, pretty much to get to the winner of first round matchup. They was the winner first round matchup. But the Miami Heat become the second overall 8th seed to get to the NBA Finals. By them, how they do that? They end up beating the Milwaukee Bucks in 5. They end up beating the New York Knicks, who everybody said was better than the Miami Heat. I had the Miami Heat winning that series. They won that series in 6. Boston, we normally had Boston winning this series. They won in 7. Good fight by Boston. But last night, Boston looked like they were ready to go home last night. So now we got a finals between the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets. Denver will be at home. I mean, Denver will be at home. They will have the home court advantage. So, Mo, first of all, man, Miami Heat win last night. Before we get into the scores last night, before we get into everything and break down the game last night, what went on, and why Boston was ready to go home last night, the road to Miami Heat to the title, man, how good was it?
It's impressive, this run. This is an impressive run. They started it off by beating the number 1 seed in the East. They beat the Bucks. And they didn't stop there. They beat a very good Knicks team. And look, for what it's worth, the Knicks gave them a pretty good series.
Yep.
They get into the conference finals, and they're dominant. They're up 3-0, and it looks like they're about to destroy Boston. And I want to give Boston credit. It takes a lot. It takes fight to actually win a game 4 just to avoid being swept. It shows some kind of fight in you. Then they win game 5, and all of a sudden you've got a series. The Celtics they outplayed the Heat in game 6 until the last few minutes, and it looked like this is another Miami comeback, because this is basically what they've been doing the whole postseason, getting down by double digits, walking team down, and Jimmy Butler making clutch baskets late. And Boston won on an amazing tip-in or follow-up shot, whatever you want to call it, by Derek White to take it to 7. And it seems like all the momentum says Celtics. They are going home. They're going to be home for a game 7. And as much credit as I want to give them to come back and win 3 straight with everything on the line, and I'm taking nothing away from Miami.
Yep.
For Boston to come out in a game 7 like that,
yeah,
play that way, that flat, that's embarrassing for a fan on the outside. I can only imagine what it's like to be a Celtics fan witnessing that in that building. Like, you can have a bad shooting night no matter what, but you still can show fight. You can still show, look, we might lose, but it's going to be competitive. We're going to show we get that 1-2. I just never saw that from the Celtics throughout the game. I thought Miami clearly wanted it more. They were the more aggressive team. They were the more physical team. And even though he had struggled a couple of games, Jimmy Butler, along with Caleb Martin, they were the 2 best players on the floor.
Yep.
And by the way, Caleb Martin, and I've been saying this going back to the Knicks series, Caleb Martin is what people want Dylan Brooks to be, is what they think Dylan Brooks is.
Yeah.
Caleb Martin is a legit 3-and-D guy who actually now, throughout these playoffs, have shown us he can put the ball on the floor too and get to the basket. Caleb Martin is going to get paid this offseason. He is going to get paid. You can make an argument he was the best player in this conference finals.
Definitely, man. Like I say, I've been high on Miami. Like I say, I tell people, you may think it's a Miami Heat. I'm a Miami Heat fan the way I talk about them. Again, it's something about, we've been saying it since the start of the season, since the beginning, late start of the season, late beginning of the season. This team can find a way in the playoffs. This team can be really, really dangerous. This team can be really, really dangerous. And we've seen that. Giannis was the first one to fall. And I just not noticed this. If you looked at the way Giannis in that press conference after that game 5, if you look in the reporter asked the man, hey, did y'all do enough adjustments? Giannis was pissed off about it. He said, no, we didn't make enough adjustments on Jimmy Butler. And it's rightfully so. They couldn't, because everybody else was hitting shots. So how can you play Jimmy Butler and double him if everybody else going to hit shots and shoot 50% from the field? That's a tough to ask for. Then he gets hurt. And he plays game 1 against New York. He gets hurt in that game. But the one thing I took up out of that series, how good Miami fought in that series and won that series. That game 2 that they actually lost, that they should have actually won, because they was that's what the size mattered in that game 2 in New York. That's why I say, this team, that's why I picked the Miami Heat. They finna win this series. That game 2 showed me Miami was finna beat them in that series. They were that close without Jimmy Butler in that game 2. They were that close. Jimmy Butler came back. Hey, he played like he wasn't injured at all. Same Jimmy Butler. Caleb Martin should have been the MVP. I understand why they gave it to Jimmy, but he should have been the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals. He was that consistent in these playoffs. He was that consistent. You could argue he was the second best player on the Miami Heat team, outside of Bam Adebayo, who I think is the second best overall player. But in these playoffs, Caleb Martin's the second best player on the Miami Heat team, starting going into that finals.
He outplayed an all-NBA player. He outplayed Jaylen Brown the entire series.
He outplayed him the entire series. And the road to Miami Heat finals, you're thinking, They up 3-0 against Boston, and you thinking Boston going to go out in an embarrassing fashion. You're thinking about Joe Mazzulla. Is they gonna bring him back this year, going out like this? Of course, they fight and come back down. They win the last 3 games because they shot well. They shot well. They did something Miami Heat did in the first 3 games, shot well. So Boston shot well in the last 3 games. In this game 7, to go out and lose on your home court by damn near 21 points, and Jason Tatum no more the same after he twists his ankle, no more the same, no more aggressive. Jaylen Brown struggling. Everybody that got on the floor for Boston struggled last night. And Miami Heat, speaking of Miami Heat, when we talked about in the stream, if Miami Heat can slow the game down and play at their pace, Miami's going to win this game. And we saw that earlier last night. We did see that earlier last night. Boston couldn't hit a shot. Miami Heat was hitting everything, especially Caleb Martin. That guy was hitting everything last night. It's like the guy wasn't missing even a shot on the court. Miami made 14 threes. They were 14 of 28 from downtown. They were 50%. So it's hard to beat a team like that. It's hard to beat a team like that when they're shooting, especially 50% from the 3. It's hard to beat a team like that.
It's even harder when you're the other team and you. What was Boston 7-35? Like it's even harder if you're going to be that bad from behind the arc.
Boston was 9 of 42 from the 3-point line.
All I'm gonna say is, Coach, you're at home. You're at home in a game 7. You got to show aggression. Make the refs call fouls. Like attack the basket. Get to the foul line. Like you can win a game. You can generate offense by being aggressive and attacking the paint. The Celtics got behind and everything became a desperate 3-point shot. Like they didn't play and they didn't play team ball. It became ISO ball.
Yep.
And Jaylen Brown is a talented guy, but he over dribbles and he was just turning the ball over left and right. Look, the only guy I thought that played halfway decent for Boston was Derek White. I thought Derek White was the only guy that showed any fight. I'm not taking nothing away from Miami. In the end, I believe the best team won. We can get into who's more talented because there's no question. Boston, top to bottom, every metric says they're more talented, but Miami is the better team. That's
right. I've been saying it all along. Forget all the damn talent. People that need to stop looking at the talent wise. Don't look at the Knicks as talented. Miami is a better overall team. They're a better overall team. As far as basketball, playing ball, basketball, they're better. They're better overall than the New York Knicks playing basketball. Because coaching is better. Players are not better, but the players want it more. The players play harder. The coaching staff game plan harder. They got Pat Riley. Of course, he's a champ. Pat Riley is a champion. One of the greatest coaches of all time. Greatest executives to ever play.
He's just the greatest.
They got 7 undrafted free agents. Undrafted free agents. And they all play hard. You think they ain't gonna try to play hard for a spot to show that they're worth playing in this league? Matt Screws came from the Chicago Bulls. They didn't want him. They say, "No, get on. We don't want you." Look what he goes to Miami and does. He's a starter in Miami. Caleb Martin came from Charlotte. Nah, we don't want you. We'll send you to Miami. Now he's damn near that second best player. All of these guys come in with a will to win, and these type of the guys that you want on your basketball team. We need to stop looking at talent and start looking at better overall. Talent doesn't mean nothing. If you work hard work beats talent any day. And that's the definition of the Miami Heat. Yes, you can be more talented than them. They can have the worst playoff roster out here. But one thing you're going to get a nonstop team. You're going to get guys who will dive on the floor. You're going to get the guys that are going to keep coming at you. You're going to get the guys that's not going to quit. And you got veteran leaders in that locker room too. Kyle Lowry, an NBA champion. Let's not forget that. Kevin Love, NBA champion, veteran, not going to play too many minutes. Udonis Haslem, still on that bench. He's not going to play. Udonis Haslem not going to play a minute. He's not going to play a minute, but he's a second coach on the bench. He's a coach on the bench. And, they got a great culture. They got great locker room presence. And them guys go out there and fight. Them guys going to go out there and fight and play hard. And that's what they exactly do. So, again, Miami going to the finals. Boston going home. Boston also had 15 turnovers. Jaylen Brown had 8 turnovers last night by himself. He had 8 of the 15.7. He had 8 of the 15 turnovers last night. Jimmy Butler had 28 points. We already know Caleb Martin had 26. Bam Adebayo had 12 and 10. He shot 4 for 10, but he had 10 rebounds, 7 assists. He did it all last night. Duncan Robinson was big last night, 10 points last night. And he missed 2 threes. He redeemed himself after missing 2 threes in game 6. They kind of put the Heat over. But other than that, the Miami Heat road to the NBA title is June 1st. So we're gonna switch. We're gonna talk about Denver's road to the NBA Finals. They were the best team all year long. This year there was questions still about them getting into the playoffs. But Mo, to you, have they answered all the questions you needed to know? Get on the road to the finals. Have they answered all the questions you needed to know about them, Mo?
They answered all my questions, Coach.
Go ahead.
I knew coming into the playoffs what Joker was. I even kept telling people what a healthy Jamal Murray was. Joker's their best player. I'll keep telling you, but their most important player is Jamal Murray. When Jamal Murray is playing at an all-star / superstar level, they become a championship team because of what he can do with his shot creation and shot making ability. I think what impressed me though, Coach, what really caught me off guard, and look, and I admit it, I was most impressed by the other guys. I'm talking about Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, KCP, Christian Braun, even Uncle Jeff. I was impressed by the other guys because everybody on that team, the one thing that's great about them, no matter how talented the player is, everybody stays in their lane. Everybody plays their role. They know who they are. They know what their job is on that team. And there are others, those guys like KCP and company, they make the difference. They all play and feed off of Joker and Jamal Murray. This Denver team, it is not the best team in the league by accident. It's the most complete team in basketball. And even when Joker isn't giving you 30, they can win because he can facilitate, get you 15 assists, and other guys are involved. Porter Jr. is a shot maker. KCP is a shot maker. Aaron Gordon can play the 4 or the 5. Against the Lakers, there were times where Aaron Gordon played small ball center and was effective. They're a versatile team. And needless to say, of course, Denver's going to come into the finals as the favorite. But I'm just going to put it out there ahead of time. That doesn't mean by default the Miami Heat are going to roll over because they're not.
Yep, they're not. They're not. I'm not planning on Miami to roll over. I'm not planning on Miami to roll over. They're going to come in. They're going to fight hard. And they're going to give it all they got, which is we'll get into our final prediction for the NBA Finals overall at the end of the show. But other than that, we're going to go on. We're going to get into the rest of the topics right here. So how did Boston get to the this is the wrong topic. So let me go to the main ones. Okay. So here we go. Should have Caleb Martin got the MVP?
I think look, you can make a case that it was close because Jimmy's obviously their leader, but I really thought for the bulk of the series, really, Coach, in wins or losses, Caleb Martin was consistent. Like when they lost, it wasn't because of him. He played well. He played well throughout the series, and maybe because he's not the name of a Jimmy Butler, Jimmy got the edge over him. But as I watched the series played out, he was my MVP by far. He was not just their best player. He was he was their best player on both sides of the ball. Jimmy's a great defender, but the job that Caleb Martin did on Jaylen Brown and at times Jason Tatum, he was the MVP.
I got you. I thought Caleb Martin, I said it multiple times in the group chat. Caleb Martin should be the MVP. He should be the MVP. But of course, Jimmy Butler, wasn't on that team. Miami doesn't beat this team right here.
Agreed.
But other than that, Caleb Martin was deserving. He's deserving. But hey, like I say, at the end of the day, maybe gave it to the right person because with no Jimmy Butler, there's no finals for the Miami Heat. They're not even probably even in the playoff picture. So other than that, good run by Caleb Martin. We'll see if it can continues to into the NBA Finals against the Denver Nuggets. Tyler Herro is targeting Game 3 as a comeback. How much help will Tyler Herro be to the Miami Heat coming back in the series?
I mean, I think that he could help them, but I think even if he can regain his wind, because now you got to get up to speed in terms of your wind and playing. He hasn't played in a minute, and he's a shooter, so I'm sure he's out of rhythm. My guess is because the guys that have stepped in have played so well, I don't think Tyler Herro is going to get major minutes. I think that he'll get spot minutes because look, if you're Coach Spo and this group has done what they've done, you don't mess that up. You don't mess up that rotation. I think he'll try to find minutes for Tyler Herro. Maybe he'll try to steal some minutes when Jimmy Butler goes to rest or when Caleb Martin goes to rest. But I think that's how he's going to get played. He's going to get spot minutes, and I think Coach Spo will judge him, from game to game. Like if he's shooting well or playing well, maybe he'll give him more time. If he's not shooting well, he'll probably get a short hook. I'd be surprised if Tyler Herro is a major factor in these finals.
Yeah, definitely. He's normally coming off the bench anyway. I don't think you mess with the starting lineup. You don't mess with the starting lineup. You keep Caleb Martin there. You keep what's working for you. I think he's going to come off the bench like as he's been doing all year long. You don't mess with the starting lineup. Don't plug him in the lineup. Let the starting lineup play out. You can put him in all you want off the bench. Think it'll work off the bench. That way, depends on how the flow of the game going and how he's doing in the game. That's who you go with. But just depends on where Miami at. Also in the series as well with Miami, if they're down 0-2 or down, if they're down 0-2 or is it 1-1 going to Miami, we'll find out about that because Miami, if the series extends, I think Miami has 3 home games too. I think it's 2-3-2 format. So Denver will have the last 2 games at home if the series does extend, but Miami will have 3 at home as well. But other than that, I think he will come off the bench, but I think you keep the lineup the same. You keep the starting. Caleb Martin screws you don't mess with the starting lineup. That's the only thing I would say. You don't mess with the starting lineup. You keep him coming off the bench. Keep him coming off the bench like that and have him run with the second unit where Jimmy Butler's getting the rest, getting the rest at that point of time. So
and Duncan Robinson has actually been very productive in these playoffs. You don't want to mess that up because he's shooting so well.
Yeah, you keep him coming off the bench with the second unit. You keep him going. Keep him coming off the bench. He's been playing well. You don't want to just because Tyler Herro coming in, you don't want to have to all of a sudden sit Duncan Robinson, sacrifice him for Tyler Herro. So you bring both of them off the bench and you keep the starting lineup with Caleb Martin the same. Keep him the same. You keep the starting lineup the same, and you just keep Duncan Robinson going and Tyler Herro coming off the bench. So I think Erik Spoelstra will find a way to make it work. I think he knows what's working for him, and we're gonna see by our predictions will it matter. But other than that, Jason Tatum, as we mentioned early in the game, twist his ankle. Was that a factor in the game? I'm gonna say no, it wasn't a factor. He still ended up playing in the game. If your ankle was that hurt that bad, you will be sitting out. You will go out of the game. I don't use it as an excuse. It did hamper him a little bit, but at the same time, you're a grown man. You out there. You should be able to be more aggressive and perform. Want to hear no excuses? I hear that same shit about Joel Embiid. He's never going to be healthy in the playoffs, but he's out there playing. That does it affect his game? No, it don't affect his game. He's out there playing basketball. He's on the court. You deserve to get blamed. I'm not using this ankle injury as an excuse. He tweaked it in the first quarter. He was never the same. But again, he played. He played on it. He gets half of the fault for this. Him and Jaylen Brown is taking this fault for this. So did you think the injury played a part in the loss?
I think it hampered him, but I don't think that's the reason they lost. Yeah, anybody that saw that game, they were just thoroughly dominated. And Marcus Smart wasn't injured. Al Horford wasn't injured.
Well,
Derek White wasn't injured.
Jaylen Brown wasn't injured.
Right. We can go down the list. This is one of the most talented teams in basketball. You get Malcolm Brogdon was 6th man of the year, and he played like he was injured. He might as well have been injured.
Yep.
He might as well fake like he was hurt because he gave you nothing. Like, so I'm not using that excuse. The most talented team is sitting at home right now. The better team won. There's no excuse. Jason Tatum, as your best player, deserves the lion's share of blame. That's the way it goes.
Yep.
And Jaylen Brown, who wants a max contract, who sees himself as a superstar, deserves a ton of blame as well.
Yep.
He did not step up the entire conference finals. Like, even when the Celtics won, he didn't play well.
Yep.
He was getting outplayed by Caleb Martin. He struggled. And I really think that I'm not one of those people that's going to be prisoner of the moment and say they're going to trade Jaylen Brown. But if you're the Boston front office, these two guys have been together for 6 or 7 years. I would say this. I would say everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. They're talented enough, coach, to come back from being down 3-0 to tie it up. But there's something missing. Like, Jason Tatum's a great player, but I don't want to confuse that with him being a great leader because I don't think he's a leader.
Yeah.
And Jaylen Brown has all the talent in the world. I don't know that he can be the second best player on a title-winning team. That doesn't mean he can't help you win. Maybe he's just not as good as a lot of people perceive him to be.
I said this all along. I think it's some stuff going to come up with Boston. If I'm Boston, if I had to choose out of Tatum and Brown, I would choose Tatum because I think he's the better overall player.
Agreed.
Now, I said Jaylen Brown could be a star in the league.
No question.
I just don't think he can be on Boston with Jason Tatum. I just don't think that combination will work too long together. I just think Tatum, the better overall player. I think Tatum is going to be Boston's future guy that they will choose. And if I had the choice to pay either one of them, I would pay Tatum, and I would try to find a way to trade Jaylen Brown. Because right now, his value is high.
No question.
Right now, his value is going to be high. So if you use this off season to think he's going to want, he was an all NBA player too. Mm-hmm. So that plays a part in why he's going to get paid a lot of money. If he became an all NBA player, he was set to get paid a lot of money. He became an all NBA player. So now Boston got some thinking to do. They got a decision they got to make. They can't let it go into next year. And now Jaylen Brown free agency hits. Hey, he's going to either leave or you're going to lose him for nothing. So you got to make a decision. If you want to go ahead.
If they even thought to trade him, would you trade him? I'm assuming you would trade him for maybe a more established veteran star. Like obviously, I'm sure you heard the rumors that they're Damian Lillard for Jaylen Brown. Yeah, I think that would be great if that happened, but that's easier said than done. It would be great for Portland because they're at the beginning of a rebuild. You get Jaylen Brown there, you automatically have a young star to kind of like be the leader of that next wave or that next group. You bring in Damian Lillard. The one thing you know about Dame is there's no fear. There's no fear. There's no fear of the big moment. I think Damian Lillard would make the shots or take the shots that maybe Tatum or Brown don't want to take. That combination could work. I don't know if it will. I don't even know if that would be the trade, but I think that you're not going to trade him for a younger player. You're going to trade him for a more established, older star, in my opinion.
Yeah, it depends on who they do the deal with. It really depends on who they decide to do the deal with. But we do know Boston got some decisions to make. Of course, Grant Williams will be a free agent too.
Yeah, about him too.
He will be on the free agent block. That will be a huge loss if he decides to walk. But Boston is easily questionable, running out of a lot of time right now. They got to make a decision on who they want to keep and who they figure out they're going to be their franchise dude going to be. And I think they would choose. If I was Boston, I would go Tatum over Brown, and I will find some compensation for Brown if you're not going to end up paying him because you can't pay both. You're not going to pay both right. Guys. You don't have enough to pay both guys. You can only pay one of them. And I say if you pay Tatum, then you got to trade Brown. You got to find something for him. So I think Boston's going to look totally different coming next year. They may look totally different. They're gonna make it look totally different. So again, if they do end up with Damian Lillard, I think Portland is going to be on a rebuild, and I don't think Damian Lillard want to be a part of the rebuild. So I think it's safe to say Damian Lillard needs to come out now and say, hey, just go ahead and pull a plug, trade me. I'm not being a part of the rebuild. I don't have all this time. I've been as patient as I could. I don't have all this time to be a part of a rebuilding team and jeopardize my career. It's probably maybe a little bit too late, like Carmelo Anthony. But the light is still open for him. He's still a top point guard in the league. Still could put it up. Maybe we'll see if Boston is that fit. Anyway it goes, I still think they'll beat the 76ers if they get Damian Lillard. I still think they're a better team than the damn 76ers will be. So other than that, what's next for Boston? We talk about what's next for Boston. Basically, we just talking about it. You already know Grant Williams is a free agent this coming year. Malcolm Brogdon played like he hurt. He shouldn't even played in the game, to be honest. Yesterday, they should have kept him out as they did in Game 6. He played like he was really hurt. We already know Jason Tatum kind of tweaked his ankle, but it wasn't an excuse. They were getting beat terribly before. They were already getting beat. They were already down early in the first quarter. They already looked like they didn't want to come out. They forgot they had a Game 7 anyway before that ankle injury. But other than that, what's next for Boston? We just basically said it, So Brad Stevens. So if you are Brad Stevens, do you break up or keep the band together? Do you break it up or do you run it back? If you're Brad Stevens, Mo, do you run it back with him or you break it up?
I think you try to keep, like most teams, when you say their core, you're talking about 4 or 5 guys. I think they will keep. Of course, we both agree Jason Tatum's not going anywhere. I think Marcus Smart isn't going anywhere. This is where it gets complicated. They might move Jaylen Brown. It would not shock me if they moved Jaylen Brown. It would not shock me if they moved on from Al Horford, who will be I think 37 or 38. It would not shock me if they moved away from Al Horford. Brogdon had a great regular season. He was pretty good in the playoffs, but it was disappointing in the conference finals. I think Derek White will be back because he was really big for them throughout, but I think the roster construction coach, it wouldn't surprise me if in their 7-man rotation, they didn't have 4 or 5 new guys.
Got you. So if I'm Brad Stevens,
what about the coach?
Yeah, if I'm Brad, and you forgot the coach too. Forgot the coach. I don't think the coach is really that safe. But it did plus. I wouldn't be mad if they keep him.
Agreed.
But also, you got better options out there too, though. You do got to look at the options that are out there too.
Well, there's some better unemployed guys.
That's what I'm saying. You got to look at the options that are out there. You got to look at Monty Williams. I mean, possibly Doc Rivers back out there. You got some options. Kevin Ollie out there. Chris Quinn out there. Dwayne Casey still out there. You got some options out there. If you all also want to go that route, you do got options out there.
I kind of like Doc Rivers going back to Boston.
Hey, you can't rule it out. At this point, you can't rule it out because it's out there. It's possible. It's a possibility.
He can go back.
Mm-hmm.
He can have KG on his coaching staff. I'm just saying he can put the band back together. He can have Perkins on the bench talking too.
Sam Cassell is out there too.
Paul Pierce ain't doing nothing.
Paul Pierce ain't doing nothing. You might well just call him up, the assistant coach. The assistant coach. So other than that, if you want to explore the options, that you got some options out there also. But if you also want to keep Joe Mazzulla and you feel like Joe Mazzulla is your guy, hey, just keep name him as your head coach. If you want to keep him, no, he ain't do too bad of a job.
For a
first-year coach. I mean, nobody. I know he's gonna get most of the blame, for this team losing. Especially they did get to the finals last year. But again, you coach with Ime Udoka. That showed you how much Ime Udoka means to that team too. That also showed you. So Jaylen Brown and Tatum also expressed it, how big he was, how big of a loss he was to them. That shows you what type of upcoming coach Ime Udoka was going to be. To this team, and it kind of hurted the Boston Celtics a little bit. But I won't be surprised if they bring Joe Mazzulla back. But also, you got options out there. You got better options if you want to go with the better options out there too. So you got to exploit those too. But if Joe Mazzulla, you got, hey, just go ahead and keep them. But I still think either way it goes, the team is going to look different. I don't think they possibly run this team back. I think throughout the offseason, they pay Tatum. They end up trading Jaylen Brown. Grant Williams is going to end up walking, going to end up probably going somewhere else. But I do think they make a big splash on a veteran player. I do think they will find a way to make a big splash on a veteran player.
Yeah, I agree. I think their roster construction is going to be. I think that Brad Stevens is going to be very aggressive this offseason.
Yep. Definitely. So we come to a conclusion. The NBA Finals, the preview of the NBA Finals, and a prediction before we get into the next two topics. Finals prediction, Mo, who you going with? And how many games?
This is easy. My head tells me you go for Denver because they're the best team. And they got the best player. Like, everything is set up to me in my head. Joker's going to average about 30, 10, and 10, be finals MVP. And yet, there's a big part of me going, you've made the mistake of going against the Heat twice, son. I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying. You know what I'm going to do? I'm gonna go, and this is nothing against my boy, because Dez, as a partner, as a friend, I want your Denver Nuggets to get their first championship. I do. It's that time, and it'd be great for you, your city. So I hope Denver wins, but I'm gonna go against traditional wisdom, and I'm gonna pick the Heat.
There you go. I love it. I love that pick. I said to myself, because I had Boston winning the finals, actually, and I did have them making the finals in 7, that they were going to win. And they were going to go to the final. They were going to go to the finals, and they were going to beat the Nuggets, because I had Boston actually winning the eventual championships this coming year.
Me too.
But depending on who made the finals, I'm taking Denver in 6 games.
Respect.
Depending on who made the finals. So if Boston would have won, I would have damn near picked Boston to win the final, because I picked them throughout the All-Star break. I don't make predictions early in the year because it'll be too early to tell. I don't make those predictions early in the year. Who's going to make the NBA Finals? Who's going to be a part of the finals? I don't make those predictions at the early start of the year. I do it throughout the All-Star break. That's when I do it. So I got the Denver Nuggets in 7 games. I mean, in 6 games. I think Denver, I say this can also hurt Denver too. They're well rested. I think they're strategized. I think they looked at a lot of film. They've been practicing as well, but also rust, not being on the court for a while, can also hurt them in game speed. That can also hurt them. Jamal Murray is playing as well as he could. The whole Denver team is playing well.
They are.
So I'm kind of rolling with that hot hand right now. But would I love Miami to win? Hell yeah, I would love Miami to win. I would love Miami to win the NBA Finals. And it would not shock me if they find a way to win the NBA Finals and shock the world, being the only AC to win the NBA Finals. It would not shock me. But I want to go with I'm going to go with the hottest team. Joker appears to be unstoppable at this moment right now. Appears to be unstoppable. Jamal Murray's bubble Jamal Murray. You got Bruce Brown coming off the bench.
How did you not mention Bruce Brown? Let me just say this real quick, Coach. As good as Caleb Martin is playing, you can make a case that Bruce Brown has played as well.
Yep.
Bruce Brown is a bad man.
Yeah, Bruce Brown. Yep, you got Bruce Brown, who's playing well, just basically almost as similar to Caleb Martin for shooting, being aggressive, going to the rim. Bruce Brown killed them goddamn Lakers. I ain't gonna even lie, he did kill them a lot. Lakers had no idea how to go. He
was a bully against the Lakers.
And other than that, everybody is hot, just hot for Denver. Miami, can they cool it down? Do they have the players to cool it down?
Coach, I gotta ask the question.
Go ahead.
What is Bam gonna do with Joker? Like I don't know how Bam can slow Joker down.
I don't know how he can do it. Joker.
I don't know. I'm again. I'm picking the Heat not because I think they're going to win. My head is going against conventional wisdom.
That's what you do, though.
Because they've proven me wrong multiple times.
That's what you do. You go with your first mind. What your first mind say, you go with. And when my first mind say, I will always go with my first mind. Like the Knicks, I'm saying I'm going with Miami. I'm going with Miami. If Philadelphia played Miami in the first round, I say I'm going with Miami. I'm going with Miami because Miami have the personnel and they have the ability. They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop Joel Embiid. Nobody's going to ever do that. But they're going to make it hard and they're going to make them earn it. That was what my first mind said. When they played the Knicks, I'm not looking at the Knicks talent. I'm looking at Miami Heat as a team and how they game play and how they stop.
You did pick the Heat. You picked the Heat.
Yeah, I picked the Heat to win that series. It's in 7 games, but they won in 6. I picked them to win that series. That was my first mind blowing. So my first mind, Boston will win the game in 7 games. But Miami have the capability of beating Boston because they played them 2 out of the last 3 years, and they beat them twice. To get to the finals. Those 2 out of the last 3 years. So I always keep a steady head on the Miami Heat. Even though I'm picking the Nuggets to win this series, I think the Miami Heat can still make it interesting. I think they can still make it interesting because they play just that hard. They play just that hard. They play. You can look at the Jokic them and say, man, how's Miami Heat going to beat this team? They're way too talented. They got the names, but when you look at that Miami Heat team, they're going to go out there and play hard. And they're the only two names you got now. Caleb Martin is looking at it, but you looking at just Jim. Oh, they got just Jimmy Butler. But you don't look at Bam Adebayo. You don't look at Caleb Martin. You don't look at Kyle Lowry, who's an NBA champion.
Or Gabe.
You look at those guys. Gabe Benson. You don't look at Matt Strus. You don't look at Tyler Herro, who's a 20-point per game scorer before getting hurt. You don't look at those guys. And like I said again, Miami Heat have all the intangibles. They have more. I think they have almost enough to make it interesting and to win the series. But for as me picking my pick, Denver's just a hot hand right now. And the way they played throughout the playoffs and having Jamal Murray go along with that, being bubble Jamal Murray, dropping 30 points. 30 points. They got better.
They got better throughout the playoffs. They actually got better in each round. They got better.
They got better through adversity and through each round. I mean, they didn't even go through a little bit of adversity through the Lakers. They were pretty much, when they were up in that series, it got ugly for the Lakers. Even when the games were close, even when the game was close, and when the Lakers had a chance, you're like, God damn, here go Jamal Murray getting started. Here go Jamal Murray. And Jokic is big as hell, too. That dude is big. I see him post up Anthony Davis. I like, damn, this dude is big. Anthony Davis backing him down up under the rim. Now, he gave Anthony Davis a lot of hell. Anthony Davis scored a lot, but Jokic did a damn good job of containing Anthony Davis as much as he could, really. He didn't stop him. Because ain't nobody going to stop. I don't believe a superstar can stop a superstar in the league. And he was going to get points, but Joker made him work a lot. He made him work a lot than he was already was. So that was my pick. That was part of my plan of going with Denver. But I would not be shocked if Miami find a way to upset it. And you're not wrong from going with your first head, what your mind says. That's what I always use.
I think Miami they're so unique, Coach, because they're going to be the first team since the play-in started. I think the first play-in team to get to the finals, right?
Yep.
Since we've had the play-in, they're the first. And think about this, Coach. Remember, they lost their first play-in game. Like, we thought Miami wasn't going to even make the playoffs. Like, they were done. They looked done, and they went from looking done to being in the NBA Finals.
That's crazy. That's real crazy right there, man. That's so awesome right there.
You know how long ago that was? Who they lose to? Chicago?
They lost Chicago. Yep. They lost Chicago.
And they're in the finals, and Chicago's long been at home. Like,
yep. Yeah. Yep. They did lose to Chicago. They end up. Matter of fact, I think they lost. I forgot. They lost to Atlanta. That's who they lost to. They lost to Atlanta because they beat Chicago to get in the actual playoff. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's what happened.
Yeah, they lost to Atlanta.
That's insane.
That's crazy. That's really insane and crazy right there. So we got 2 coaching hires over the weekend. Over this week, we got Adrian Griffin is hired as the head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. Pretty much a shocking. Nobody saw this coming. Nick Nurse was out there. Monty Williams, Doc Rivers was considered. Those are the coaches that's still out there at this moment. Adrian Griffin is the man in Milwaukee, assistant coach for the Chicago Bulls at one point, played for the Chicago Bulls as a player, played for the Houston Rockets as a player. He was assistant in Toronto with Nick Nurse. Mo, what you think about this hire? And it's interesting how he got hired. Do you think Giannis had something to do with this hire?
100%.
Go ahead.
100%. Whatever Adrian Griffin is selling, Giannis is buying. Okay. I think it's a great hire too because it breaks the trend of just doing retread coaches that go from one team to the next. It's time. Adrian Griffin is one of the younger coaches, but you mentioned played in the league, was known as a defensive player, tough-minded. He's very similar to Darvin Ham, except that I would say that he's a more strategic coach than Darvin Ham. I think Giannis wanted someone who could relate more to players and someone who was open to change and making adjustments. Sometimes certain head coaches can be very rigid, and it's my way or the highway. I think Adrian Griffin approached Giannis and made it be more like a partnership. Me and you. You're the franchise player. We'll do this together. I think it's great for Giannis. It's going to be great for Milwaukee. Adrian Griffin's a great hire because, like I said, he's going to breathe some new life into that team. I think Milwaukee will try, and I'm emphasizing try to run it back. It's easier said than done because Brook Lopez wants his money, and of course, Chris Middleton is going to want his money. So, will either one of them take a hometown discount to run it back? I don't know, but I think that's the plan right now. But I still think it's a great hire no matter what.
Got you. You could tell, Giannis did have something to do with this move. I mean, Giannis okayed it, for him to be the head coach. So, again, he was a player. He was a solid defensive player, solid mid-range shooter, multiple coach on multiple winning teams as an assistant. So, no doubt, it's new life, new blood in Milwaukee. You got Chris Middleton, free agent this year. Brook Lopez, free agents this year. Will they sign them back? That remains to be seen. We'll see if they're gonna get those guys, their teammate Giannis guys back. But other than that, we got another new head coach in signing, and Nick Nurse goes to the Philadelphia 76ers. Everybody in the fan base loves the hire. The hire is great for the Sixers organization. He's going to hold guys accountable, and he's a championship winning coach in this modern NBA. Now, all I want to say, who's going to be the next excuse? Because Philadelphia and Joel Embiid is running out of time really, really quick. So it is interesting. James Harden may not be coming back.
Oh, he's not coming back.
I don't think he's coming back. A lot of fans want James Harden gone, but you got to look at it. James Harden, who's going to be the next co-star behind Joel Embiid?
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. I don't mind them wanting to get rid of James Harden, but you can argue James Harden was the reason why they were even in the series. It was the reason why they were even there, close in the series. He's the reason.
Gave you 2 games.
Gave you 2 games. Easily gave you 2 games to win that series, and he's got a lot of fault. He's got a lot of fault in losing this series. Game 6, 4 for 16. Game 7 didn't even show up at all. But also, your MVP didn't even show up. Your MVP didn't even show up in Game 6, didn't show up in Game 7, didn't show up in Game 5, Game 4, which is James Harden won that game. He wasn't there in Game 1. But other than that, the series, I put 90% on Joel Embiid. The MVP, he cried about it, complained about it, he wanted it. He didn't show up, and this has been a trend each and every single season. He has put the spotlight on his teammates instead of himself. He wanted Doc Rivers fired. He got him fired. Wanted Ben Simmons out. They got him up out of there. Ben Simmons wasn't a problem in this series. Brett Brown wasn't a problem in this series. Now, all I'm going to say, it's a great hire. If the Sixers don't get it done the next 2 years with Nick Nurse, who will be the next guy to blame? Who will be? What are the excuses going to end up now?
They're gonna blame Nick Nurse.
That's a good call. So
they're gonna blame Nick Nurse.
It's always going to be the coaches,
right? It's gonna be somebody. It's not
yeah.
gonna be who it should be. It's gonna be Nick Nurse.
So Mo, what you think about the hire of Nick Nurse?
Nick Nurse is a good coach. He's a solid coach. He gives them a fresh voice in the locker room. He's not a rigid coach. He will make adjustments, and his style of play, he likes to play more up tempo, which is great. My question is, and you brought it up, that's great if you're going to retain the guy that averaged 20 points and 10 assists.
Yep.
Like you, if you don't retain him, who's replacing the 20 and 10? That's all I want to know. Like who's your point guard? Because Maxi's talented, but he's not a point guard. He's a two guard.
Yep.
And I'm not sure he's even ready to step into that role of being the number 2 option. So if you lose James Harden for nothing, because if you lose him for nothing, you still don't have the cap space to go out and get nobody. So unless you can negotiate some kind of sign and trade where you can get something back to help you, if he just walks, you're already starting the season off in a hole. And that's a bad way to start for Nick Nurse to already lose a valuable asset like James Harden. So I like the hire, but you and I both know if things go sideways, Nick Nurse is the same guy who's going to take all the heat. You know that, right?
Yep. I already know that. Sometimes it is the coaches. But it's not always the coach. I mean, Doc Rivers, rightfully so, deserves some blame. He wasn't the reason why they lost. He wasn't the reason why they actually lost the series. Of course, Joel Embiid and Harden didn't step up, but you already knew who Harden was before he even got to Philadelphia. You already knew that. It's already something you already knew, so it wasn't that shocking. You should already know. But goddamn, do you expect Joel Embiid not to show up? And it's been all through his career he hasn't showed up. It's been, like I say, I got a whole resume on Joel Embiid in the draw. It's been a whole playoff years trend. Since 2019, he hasn't really showed up in the actual playoffs in a big game. So, again, it's a great hire, not taking that away. But, again, you also forgot not to mention that the wild card, Tobias Harris, they won't trade it up out of there. They do want him kind of traded, which is rightfully so because his contract is too big. So it'll be interesting to see who they will trade him to and what they get back for him. But right now, Philadelphia don't got any type of money to go out and get players. So it'll be interesting to see. And I don't know if you have the valuable assets, the trade players, because you don't got draft picks. I don't think they got draft picks whatsoever to give up and to trade. So Philadelphia is stuck in the dark hole. I think James Harden will leave. He will leave. That's probably no end answer. But they're not going to give him $50 million. They're not going to give him $50 million. I don't think they have. They're not going to give him that. But other than that, Philadelphia will be different. Tobias Harris, I think they will find someone to trade him. I think James Harden will be gone, so that's 2 guys that you lost right there. But now you got Joel Embiid, you do have Tyrese Maxey, and you have PJ Tucker. You have PJ Tucker in there. So other than that, they got some roster restructuring to kind of do. They got some work to kind of do.
Nick Nurse has got his work cut out for him.
Yeah, he really does. So this is the last question before we end the show right here. In your mind, in your opinion, give me the next coach that you think that will fall. The next domino that will find them a team to go to. Phoenix out without a head coach. I mean, you got Boston if they don't retain. That's only if they don't retain. They don't retain Joe Mazzulla, which I think Boston will find a way to retain Joe Mazzulla. Or they got an option out there, but we'll put them on the table. Detroit, that's open. That job is really open. So give me the next domino. You don't have to give me the place. Give me the next domino. You think that will fall?
To where a coach is going to end up?
No. What next coach that you think will go off the board next?
To get a job, I'm going to go Monty Williams.
Okay.
I think Monty Williams is a really good coach. Look, I like Monty Williams to Detroit. Monty Williams is great with young players. That team has a lot of young raw talent. I think Monty Williams you want a calming effect over something like that. Somebody that will garner their respect. I think that's a good starting point. Maybe Monty Williams won't be the coach to take them to a title, but he will be the coach to rebuild them and make them relevant again.
Okay. What's good, my boy Bird? The Milwaukee job is taken. That's taken by Adrian Griffin. That job is taken already. So the next domino. So don't not to mention we do got Frank Vogel out there too.
Yeah.
I forgot about Frank Vogel
Coach.
as a head coach. The next domino to fall. Don't be surprised because I've been hearing a lot about this name. I think you will hear it about it after the NBA Finals for the Detroit Pistons. Chris Quinn, the assistant coach from Miami for Detroit. I think Miami. I think Detroit. It's a reason why they haven't hired a head coach yet. They haven't hired one yet. And I think they will be waiting after the finals to hire their guy.
So they're waiting for Chris Quinn.
I think that it's a trend and it's a rumor that I actually know from a Detroit source that I actually caught from. Okay. So again, it's a reason why they probably too late on there.
I like
they
that
haven't
one too.
hired anybody, so they're really considering Chris Quinn. You know, when Eric Spoelstra goes out, Chris Quinn is the assistant coach. He would normally be the ones coaching the game. So I think that's why Detroit taking so long. You got Phoenix, who haven't hired a head coach yet. Mentioned you had Monty Williams over there. It wouldn't be surprised. I'm gonna say Doc Rivers ends up in Phoenix. I'm gonna say Doc Rivers find a way to end up in Phoenix. I think he would get another job. I think he would end up with another job.
Oh, he's getting another job.
Yeah, I would say Doc Rivers ends up over there in Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't even think that's impossible. Again, if they give Mazzulla another shot, which by the way I think he deserves because he's a first year coach, that's great. But if they don't, like I said, I like Doc going back. But I have no problem with the idea of Doc becoming the head coach of the Suns. That is a veteran team. He's a veteran coach. He's a great motivator. He's not the greatest strategic coach, but he's a great motivator. I think that he would bond really well with KD and Book. So I like that idea. Let's see how it falls, but I really like the idea of Doc going to the Suns.
Yep. Darvin Ham did a hell of a job with the Lakers. I think he really did. First year head coach, one of another first year head coaches. Going to the Western Conference Finals with the Lakers wasn't even supposed to be there. He still got a lot of flock of losing in that series, but hell, like I say, he done a hell of a job going into the finals. Now I haven't heard no whisper about LeBron James being a locker room cancer or one of the trade players up out of there with Coach Darvin Ham. And like I say, real quick, your assessment and your closing thoughts about your Los Angeles Lakers and Coach Darvin Ham, and what should they do in the offseason to improve? What's the improvements they need to make?
Well, I like everything that Darvin Ham did. I thought that one, he established that he was in charge. Like most of the time, a LeBron James team is usually controlled by LeBron James. I'm sure LeBron has input, but I thought Darvin Ham, when you look at where they came from and what he was able to do and hold them together, when LeBron was out, when AD missed time, he kept that team together. And that can't be easy when you're dealing with egos that big. And you're in LA and much is always expected, whether you're even as good as advertised or not. That's a high pressure job. I thought Darvin Ham answered the bell time and again. And for them to end up in the Western Conference Finals, look, it's disappointing to get swept, but there's no embarrassment losing to the best team in basketball. They literally lost to a team that's better than them.
Yeah.
And even when they played well in close games, the better team found a way to beat them. It's okay.
It's okay, yeah.
It is. Look, going forward, you've got AD, you've got LeBron. You've got to make some tough decisions. I got to assume the number one thing is you retain Austin Reeves. You at least try, but you got to keep Austin Reeves. In a perfect world, you keep him and Hachimura, but I think the money's not. I don't think the money's there for both of them. And you have to make a decision on D'Angelo Russell and some other players. They do have their mid-level exception. They might have two of them. So they might go out and make a couple of moves. I don't think the Lakers, as presently constructed around LeBron and AD, I don't think you're going to get the exact same team. I think it's going to be, I think other than Austin Reeves and a couple other pieces, probably Schroeder will be back. I think you're going to have a lot of different players on there. Their roster construction would not surprise me if after you get past their first 3 or 4 guys, everybody else is going to be relatively new.
Definitely. So the 3 finalists for the head coaching position for Phoenix is Doc Rivers, Frank Vogel, and Kevin Young. Those are the 3 hirings for the Phoenix job. Those are the 3.
Doc's winning that.
Hey, those are the three finals. I just said Doc. I just say Doc.
Doc's gonna win that.
Yep. So a hire could be hired earlier at the end of the weekend this week. So y'all pay attention to that. Okay. The 3 finalists for Phoenix is Doc Rivers, Frank Vogel, and Kevin Young. And I'm saying right now, as I just said a few minutes ago, Doc Rivers will win the Phoenix Suns job, and he will be the head coach of the Phoenix Suns. So
you're right.
Other than that, another great morning show in the books. We got our NBA Finals kind of set. Mo is taking the Heat. I'm taking the Nuggets, and trust me, I do. I kind of want either one win. I'm happy, but I pick the Nuggets because they're hot, but also Jokic, stick it to Joel Embiid in Philadelphia and prove why you should be named the best center in the NBA. Stick it to him. But also, Jimmy Butler could do it too, because remember, Jimmy Butler, they let him go. They let him walk. So no matter what, Philadelphia 76ers, hey, they get to stick it to him anyway. So other than that, Mo, tell the people they can follow you at.
Right here on the Empire Sports Empire Network, Coffee and Sports in the Morning, and check out the podcast NBA Cypher that's up on YouTube as well.
Got you. Y'all go check that out right there. But y'all know where y'all can find me at. Y'all gonna find me doing my Dallas Wings today on my channel. Y'all gonna find me doing the WNBA, my Dallas Wings against the Minnesota Lynx later today at 6 o'clock, by 6 o'clock today. Y'all know I ain't hard to find on the morning show or Empire Sports Network. So as for myself, as for my boy Mo Better, see y'all guys possibly tomorrow.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, y'all.